Whoa. I've done it again. There we are. Hello, bird nerds. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I do have a bird on my head. The bird on my head is my avian advisor because Loz is a bird and Loz is also my co host. Welcome. It's Monday. Usually on a Monday we talk about urban birds, but I thought something was released in the media late last week, which I think deserves some commentary. G'day, H2 Rider or Stormy, how are you? Welcome to the regular members of the Riot Squad. If you're here, for new listeners or watchers, the Riot Squad is the regular viewers who jump into the comments and give their opinions or ask questions or generally participate. And you are most welcome. That's really what live streaming is all about, sharing and delivering some thoughts and opinions. Loz just loves whatever is the top lining on my headphones, and just he'd rather eat that than eat the beautifully sliced mango, dried mango pieces that I have in his on his playpen just over here. But hey, free to do. Loz is free to do what Loz wants to do. Folks, have you heard that the genome of the night parrot has been sequenced? Oh, hello, Loz. Yeah, hello. Looking at me there. Now, that would appear to be pretty amazing news, I would have thought. Let me find the... here we are. This is the one. Let me read from the Valentine's Day news release from the CSIRO, which was the body that funded and oversaw this research. I'll just read it out, and then we'll see what it means, and I'll look at a few other articles, and we'll see what the general consensus is. So there we are, Loz. Do you want to go back over here now? All right. Researchers at CSIRO, Australia's National Science Agency, have sequenced the first genome of the night parrot, one of the world's rarest and most elusive birds. The development will answer questions about population genetics and biology that could boost conservation hopes for the recently rediscovered species. The genome will enable us to explore the genetic basis of why the night parrot is nocturnal, a very unusual feature in parrots. We'll investigate faculties like navigation, smell, beak shake, and its less than optimal night vision, Dr. Leo Joseph, the director of CSIRO's Australian National Wildlife Collection, said. Researchers will also be able to run statistical analyses on the genome of this individual to estimate past population sizes of night parrot populations in Australia. Now, we have the capability to compare this annotated genome with other closely related parrots, shedding light on the reasons behind its scarcity and limited distribution compared to many of its relatives, which include the two ground parrots, Western and Eastern. Are you right there, mate? Someone likes goatees. CSIRO researchers sequenced the night parrot genome, its genetic blueprint, using tissue obtained from Dr. Kenny Trevelyan, acting curator of ornithology at the Western Australian Museum, after traditional owners in the Pilbara found a deceased specimen and delivered it to the Museum Bulla Bardip. The specimen, which is the best preserved on display in the world, is now open to public viewing at WA Museum Bulla Bardip. Can someone from Perth tell me about Bullabud? Dr. Gunjan Pandey, who led the Night Parrot Genomics Project, said access to the high throughput DNA sequencing technology under CSIRO's Applied Genomics Initiative is accelerating genomics research in Australia. We can now generate very high quality genomes from really tiny tissue samples, even as small as an ant's head or a single mosquito, Dr. Pandey said. This level of quality and detail just wasn't possible even 5 years ago. The genetic data can be used to ensure conservation programs maximise diversity so the species is resilient and has the best chance of long-term survival. Once more widespread in arid Australia, the night parrot declined due to environmental changes such as predation by cats and foxes. Was it only predation? Could there have been anything else that may have led to the decline? It is now only known from localised parts of southwest Queensland and Western Australia. A couple of dozen scientific specimens were collected during the 19th century and one in 1912. Then a specimen was found in 1990 in southwest Queensland, Dr. Joseph said. Live birds were reported in the same area in 2013, and a live parrot was finally caught and tagged in 2015. Now, I think that was James Watson's work. Correct me if I'm wrong. While the night parrot genome is an exciting scientific resource to understand more about this bird, protecting the species from cats, foxes, fire, and habitat loss is also crucial for their conservation. The night parrot genome will open up numerous opportunities for further research to help conserve this species, Dr. Pandey said. This will empower scientists to develop a plan for saving the night parrot, which is the ultimate goal of sequencing the genome and making it publicly available. And then there's a note to editors, so I guess people who are going to reproduce this this material, which would be people like me. The National Centre for Biotechnology Information at the National Library of Medicine annotated the genome sequence of the night parrot. The locations of individual genes were found using NCBI's eukaryotic annotation pipeline. The annotated genome is now available as part of the NCBI reference sequencing RefSeq database through NCBI datasets. CSIRO, together with the Threatened Species Initiative, the Threatened Species Initiative, supported by Bioplatforms Australia, definitely need to look up them, will continue genetic studies to understand more about the night parrot and other closely related birds such as the eastern ground parrot. CSIRO's Applied Genomics Initiative uses high-throughput sequencing technology to deliver reference genomes and large-scale diversity data sets for new insights and applied outcomes. The genome was sequenced using Oxford Nanopore technology at the Biomolecular Resource Facility at the Australian National University. BRF is a service node of Bioplatforms Australia, which is made possible through investment funding provided by the Commonwealth Government National Collaborative Research Infrastructure Strategy, the NCRIS, the AGI, which is the Applied Genomics Initiative, has successfully assembled over 100 genomes across diverse life forms in recent years. Many of these annotated genomes are accessible to the public via GenBank. Okay, so I'm just having a look at the so that's the genome assembly page at the National Library of Medicine. Now, you can download it. Data sets. I'm not even going to pretend that I understand any of this. Hopefully, some of the people who eventually watch the show will understand some of that. And here's the other thing they linked: Applied Genomics Initiative. It's an umbrella project. So there we are. If you want to find that, the National Library of Medicine, and this is an official website of the United States government. Okay, so there we go. So it's I probably didn't share that tab, did I? Here we are. So that's there we are. I'm sharing it now, am I not? This is the National Library of Medicine I'll just fling through. So there's lots of other things you can look up there. That's interesting. Just surprises me that it's on a US government website. There we are, and I'll just share that tab. There we are. There's the National Library of Medicine with the little tag up the top here. I don't know if you can see. An official website of the United States government. So there we are. That's everything that's up there. Now let's have a look at some of the other things, how things were reported. Share this tab. Science News. Scientists sequence genome of the elusive night parrot. Let's see if... Now, where's this publication from? It's got to be a US publication, because apparently the night parrot is also known as the porcupine parrot, the nocturnal ground parakeet, the midnight cockatoo, the solitaire, and then there's two names that I have heard it referred to as the spinifex parrot and the night parakeet. Has anyone ever heard the night parrot referred to as the porcupine parrot? Or the midnight cockatoo? Gee, fair income. The night parrot is one of the most mysterious birds in the world. Well, I'd agree with that. Let's have a look. Is there anything else we didn't get there? So everything here was obviously just from that press release, because it's basically every word of the press release that I read out. So that was Science News. Cosmos. Cosmos, and this article is from February 14 as well. So they rushed them out, which is pretty good. The night parrot's full genome offers hope for the elusive species. That's one of the photos that was supplied from the taxidermied specimen that was supplied by the TOs. Let's have a look. Ellen Fidian has written this article. She has a Bachelor of Science honours in Chem and Science Communication, and is a MSci Communication from ANU. Just see if there's anything new. Okay, a bit more to the story about how the TOs found the night parrot. They found an injured night parrot caught on a fence. The bird died of its injuries. So the TOs, the traditional owners, delivered it to the West Australian Museum, where the specimen was preserved and put on display last week. Let's see if there's... Okay, so she Cosmos spoke to Dr. Kunjan Pandey, and he said that they were able to sequence the whole genome in 3 to 4 months and take another month to annotate it, a fast turnaround. We have optimised workflows and pipelines to do high throughput genome assemblies. That sounds pretty good. In the last couple of years, we've done over 100 genomes. Can anyone remember how long it took to the Human Genome Project to sequence the human genome? Obviously, the Human Genome Project. Okay, so the researchers finished annotating the genome yesterday, so that would have been February 13, and released it publicly on the GenBank database. The idea here is to make the genome available to everybody, so all of us can look at it together rather than keeping it as our property. Cool. I agree with you, Loz. The Australian community is paying for a lot of this work, and it's only fair then that the publicly supported science be publicly available. I agree. But the researchers have their own plans to study the genome too. We're going to compare it with genomes from other parrots and nocturnal birds and see what is happening. The team is interested in using the genome to learn about the night parrot's camouflage, beak morphology, genetic diversity and population structure. There are many dimensions to understanding a bird like this. One is to understand its habitat, one is to understand its vocalisations. But if we start to think about genetics and how genetics can contribute its own dimension to conservation, we can start to think about understanding the longer term evolutionary history of the night parrot. There we go. There's the team who were working on it. We might try and identify everyone in that group in a moment because I'm not seeing everybody's name there. I'll go back and see if we can find everyone in a moment. Joseph likens sequencing a creature's full genome to making a roadmap. If you imagine a roadmap of Australia with no place names, it's a bit like saying we sequenced a genome. But annotating the genome means you can put all the place names on the map, you can put all the genes on it. So we start to get the genetic blueprint for an organism. We start to have a way of understanding what it is that makes up a night parrot. We can look into genes and we can know from other birds, we can look into genes that we know from other birds are related to nocturnality, and we can understand its biology down to that level. And we can use it in conjunction with other pieces of genetic data to understand the genetic structure of the night parrot today across its range. Which genes might be varying and which genes might not be varying. The researchers can also now compare the parrot's DNA to DNA from other night parrot samples, like from feathers, some of which are a century old. With DNA from feathers, you don't get very good quality, but whatever fragmented DNA we get, now we can use that information to get into the genetic diversity and the population structure. Ecologists can also get a better sense of where the night parrots have been without observing them in person through environmental DNA or eDNA. Now, I'm just going to get to those and we'll have a look at that in a minute because that's really interesting, and it's like another article I read last week about how sampling, taking air samples and water samples, like at the edges of dams or shallow creeks where birds are drinking, you can get traces of DNA to tell you what species are there. So that's really interesting. Here we go. A birdwatcher colleague of mine once said to me, the night parrot was the only bird in the world where no person living had shown to another person. So that means, I think that means no. What about the trapped night parrot? Okay, let's give that some more thought. I think that means that no birdwatcher has been able to take someone back to show them where they saw the bird. I don't know. A birdwatcher colleague of mine once said to me, the night parrot was the only bird in the world that no person living had shown to another person, which was a really good way to sum up the mystery, says Joseph. The researchers are hoping that both they and other scientists will use the genetic information to help save the critically endangered species. I think another level of interest in the night parrot is what holds symbolically. Is what it holds symbolically. It says a lot about environmental change in Australia. It says a lot about how we've nearly lost bits of our biodiversity heritage. That we've lost bits, and it says a lot about hope. Okay, now let me find the bits about. Yeah. So this is about the trace DNA, environmental DNA. You might leave your DNA in a footprint on the beach. Who can access it raises privacy concerns. This is from May 16, 2023. Loz is attacking a series of hanging bells that I strung together. I took from... Oh, now he's doing his display. He's really very... He gets fired up with the bells. Okay, environmental DNA, or eDNA, has become a crucial tool for ecology research in recent years. By sampling water, soil, or other environmental materials for DNA fragments, researchers can tell that thousands of different species have been in an area without having to observe the actual species passing through. So far, the eDNA process has been mostly used to find marine creatures, insects, and other wild organisms. But it could be used just as easily to spot humans, according to a paper in Nature, Ecology and Evolution. Okay, that's not the bit that I was interested in so much, but yeah, that's mostly about humans. Let's try the other article and see if it's more about... here we go. Tracking animals without seeing them. January 15, 2020, from Nick Kahn. The night vision camera trap picture of mountain lions drinking from a stream at a Jasper Ridge Biological Preserve in the US looks great and is valuable, but getting such images is a bit hit and miss. Sampling the DNA that animals leave behind in the soil might be a better way of gaining information about what's where for conservation purposes, argue researchers at Stanford University. I might open the link to that. So, in a paper in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society, B, Kevin Leempool and colleagues say environmental DNA, or eDNA, also helps distinguish genetic differences between animals that otherwise look identical, an arduous task with traditional tracking approaches. It's not a new approach, and it's a relatively straightforward process. After sequencing DNA extracted from discarded animals' materials, such as hair, feces, skin, and saliva, scientists compare it to online DNA sequence databases to identify the species. So you only need parts of the overall totality of DNA of a species. Once there's a genome, there's a sequence, and you can find the little fragments of the sequence in different things that are left behind. Questions remain about its efficacy, however, in part because most eDNA research to date has been done in ocean and freshwater environments. Of the few studies on land, the majority have been in enclosed areas such as zoos or limited to a small number of species. Okay. So that's that. What else have we got? Okay, we'll take cookies on this. I don't think we'll get down that whole rabbit hole. Let's just come back to let's just come back to here. So Stormy says the night parrot needs to be saved. I agree with you. Hello, a whole lot of new people just jumped in. Let's pop that back to there. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this kind of research? I might say I've got my my backdrop today is where do I have to go? I probably have to just, if I jump out of there. No. The cat, probably the biggest threat, feral cats to the night parrot. I was intrigued that in the first article, loss of habitat seemed to be a little bit downplayed. But yeah, I think it's fairly certain that feral cats are probably the biggest threat, knowing the horrific amount of, 1 billion native animals, at least, that they remove from the Australian environment each year. But what do you think about the research? I mean, to me, it seems to be fabulous. Well, a really consequential piece of research, but you know me, I'm a bit of a pessimist about this. I just wonder whether what it will end up telling us is that we know so much about a bird that, 10 years' time that we find out is extinct, I don't know. I hope that it gives us an opportunity to start a captive breeding process. I don't know. I would love it if we could get to the level of knowledge about the population in general that the Kakapo rescue team have about their birds. Admittedly, it's very different in terms of where the birds live and perhaps the very nature of the birds, the personalities of the birds. But we don't know. We don't know whether the night parrot is likely to be able to withstand the kind of human meddling that the Kakapo do. The Kakapo being flightless makes it a bit easier to manage, obviously, in that way, that it's sort of intensive management. Also having island refuges that have been made predator free assists in that effort. But what do you think? Anything else you've seen? Oh, you would have heard Loz react. That was because a rainbow lorikeet was flying over and made a contact call. Loz always reacts. What other, and no matter where you are around the world, what other birds do you think need this kind of treatment? Are you excited about environmental DNA? There we are. He's displaying again. I really need to get the Loz cam going. He's having a ball over there. Yeah. Okay. Over to you, folks. That was the big piece of news. I haven't seen any other good news. which is really quite depressing. I will just open up my news feed again. Um, look at my save stories. Um, I did like the story that I saw, um, that the world's heaviest snake, the green anaconda, has now been divided into two species, and that was as a result of genomic sequencing. And even though the snakes look identical, they're significantly different. I think 6% difference in the genome sequencing, which makes those snakes more different to each other, even though they look identical, than the percentage of DNA difference between humans and chimpanzees. I thought that was a really interesting one. Oh, what have you done? I don't know. What did you do there? I don't know. The other ridiculous stuff in the news this week was two transmission towers came down in the storm that we had here about a week ago now in Victoria. Very similar to what happened in South Australia. And of course, the ridiculous conversation is that somehow Victoria's move towards more renewable energy caused the transmission towers to come down. But it also highlights that even though there is a policy desire to put transmission lines underground in Victoria so that these kind of things won't happen in the future, apparently it's scheduled to happen over 50 or 60 years. Let's have a look. Some of these headlines are very, very, very depressing. Climate change is fueling a new type of anxiety, therapists say. Plastic producers deceive public about recycling. Climate change is forcing Australians to weigh up relocating. How do they make that difficult decisions? I don't know. Let's. Two economists say a carbon levy could solve multiple problems, but expect fossil fuel fury. I listened to a researcher talk about this the other day. Polar bears risk starvation as they face longer ice-free periods in the Arctic, and that's because they're adapted to hunt seals. And if they have to eat, the researcher was saying that the bears can survive coming on shore and eating berries and whatnot, but their energy budget works out to be about equal. They can survive eating berries, but they can't get fat, which is what they need to then take advantage of the ice and breed. They don't have the reserves. They can't hibernate. I might see if I can get this from the Mercury. Let's see if I can share this page. Can I share this screen? Got so many things open. Let's see. Stormy, environmental DNA would find more animals in your area. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I think we would get an idea that many more animals are in areas than we think just because we don't see them. Finally, Loz got on the swing. First time. All right, very good. Hopefully that keeps him occupied for a little while. He's thrown off his bells. That's what. Amazing. He's he plays rough. Plays very rough. Let me see. I just want to try and get that article up in the Mercury rather than on there, and we'll have a look at it. Go to the Mercury and find. Can I? And of course, when you go to the Mercury and you look for the story is not even there. But there is some stuff about one of the chasers. That's very interesting. All right, I'll just give that a miss. We'll go back to the. Go back to the story. I'll read it out. Or can I share that? Let me see. Got so many things open. It's very annoying. Okay, let me just. Okay, I've got to put it over here, don't I? Sorry, folks. Just technical things about sharing something that I'm looking at here. Window. Here we are. Okay, I can't do that one. Let's try again. Because it's in there, let's try this again. Share a tab. Entire screen. All right, let me get this. All right, we can do this. This is a story that upset me a little bit. Okay. Tasmanian birds like the swift parrot and orange-bellied parrot are more likely to be endangered, new research reveals. Following a celebrity endorsement from Leonardo DiCaprio, new research has revealed why birds like the swift parrot are more likely to be endangered. This is also from Valentine's Day. With a nice little downy shot from Dr. Swift Parrot. Very nice. Birds that live on islands like Tasmania are more likely to be endangered. New research by the ANU, Australian National University, has looked into the factors that make certain bird species more susceptible to being endangered. Study lead author George Olah said that Australia had over 750 bird species. Firstly, species living only on islands were much more likely to be at risk of extinction, Dr. Olah said. Think of the emblematic swift parrot and orange-bellied parrot of Tasmania, both considered critically endangered. There's another great Dr. Swift Parrot shot of swift parrot chicks. This may be because they are less well prepared for the threats posed by introduced species like rats, cats, and other mammals. It's estimated that only 750 swift parrots are left in Tasmania, with actor Leonardo DiCaprio recently taking to Instagram to urge people to help protect the remaining habitats of the bird species. In response to the post, environmental activist Bob Brown invited DiCaprio to visit Tasmania, its forests and wildlife. Dr. Olar said factors included the species... Let me read that again because I messed it up. Dr. Olar said other factors included the species' ability to survive in agricultural areas and the bird's uniqueness. Breaking news: large thunderstorm hitting Sydney and the north of Sydney. Hunker down, folks. Here we are. The more able they were to find food in agricultural areas, the less endangered they were. They were predicted to be, Dr. Olar said. They can adapt to take advantage of new agricultural lands, perhaps after some of their habitat has been destroyed, to make way for it. It's probably a big benefit for the species. The burden of extinction risk seems to be disproportionately... Beg your pardon, let me read that again. The burden of extinction risk seems disproportionately to disproportionately impact... that reminds me. I forgot to go live on Instagram. We are now live on Instagram. Oh, that was silly of me, wasn't it? I'll come to your bit in a minute, Naomi. So let me read that bit again because I mucked it up. The burden of extinction risk seems to disproportionately impact species that have high uniqueness. Some of these shared traits is how I was taught to say it, are also connected to form a larger pattern. For example, we know slow breeders that have a larger body size and maybe live longer generally find it harder to cope with environmental changes. Dr. Olar said many bird species are facing an uncertain species. The numbers are quite sad. By 2020, 8 species were already considered extinct and 10% were threatened with extinction. But if we understand more about factors that increase extinction risk, we can better prioritise conservation efforts. Some species are more prone to extinction than others. We wanted to find out why. The study forms part of the publication EMU's special edition on threats to Australian birds that I have not checked out yet. I must do that. Okay, Facebook love. Thank you, Naomi. So Naomi's brought up for the first time in 4 decades, Peruvian diving petrels have 4 active natural nests on Chanarelle Island after a dedicated conservation group cleared the island of a deadly invasive species. Some good news from overseas. Naomi, where did you see that? I would be interested to see where you saw that. There's a story here. You might notice it above where Naomi mentioned Peruvian diving petrels. Andrew Forrest, the head of Fortescue Metals, has said carbon capture tech a complete falsehood. Oh well, there we go. I'm surprised that it's taken so long for anyone to come to grips with that. Now, BBC Wildlife Story, which I also found Interesting. Thank you, Naomi, on the Good News Network for that one. Okay. BBC Wildlife. The pied hornbill is, and now this is the urban birds part of the show today. The striking bird is making itself at home amid the city's tower blocks. Singapore has long had a reputation as one of the world's greenest cities. Following independence from Malaysia almost 60 years ago, efforts began to transform this island nation into a garden city. Today, as the world looks to nature as an ally in the climate crisis, it seems Singapore is way ahead of its time. Among the tightly packed high-rise apartments, office blocks and shopping malls, there are nature reserves, parks and buildings adorned with flowering trees and shrubs. Greenery is everywhere in Singapore, bringing with it an abundance of wild creatures that have adapted to this very human landscape. Many are taken for granted, yet some of these urban species demonstrate remarkably innovative and intelligent behaviour that scientists are only just beginning to understand. One such example is the oriental pied hornbill. This large bird, one of 62 hornbill species and the only one in Singapore, is easily recognised by its long down-curved beak and distinctive headgear called a casque. Unlike its cousins, which require large areas of forest to survive, the oriental pied hornbill is highly adaptable, able to carve out an existence in a variety of habitats, including mangroves, coastal scrub and urban settings. The charismatic bird, has had mixed fortunes in Singapore, declining to extinction by the early 1990s as a result of habitat loss and hunting. But by 1994, it was ready to stage a comeback. How did it make a comeback if it was extinct? Okay, good luck everyone up here in Sydney. I hope your storm isn't as destructive as the one we had. So, a pair began breeding on one of Singapore's smaller islands, Pulau Ubin. Until the 1970s, Ubin was home to a thriving granite industry, but its abandoned quarries have since been reclaimed by nature and are now shrouded in secondary forest. As the vegetation returned, so did wildlife. Scientists believe the intrepid hornbill pair came from neighbouring Malaysia. Okay. It is easy to imagine these birds flying across the narrow channel between the two countries, less than a mile apart. Okay. Two males jostling for position on the window ledge. Hornbills nest in cavities made in large trees by other birds, such as woodpeckers. After entering her new abode, a female seals the cavity with a mixture of saliva and mud, leaving a small opening through which she can receive food supplied by the male. It was this particular housing requirement that contributed to the species' disappearance from Singapore in the late 19th century, as nesting trees were rapidly lost to pepper and gambia plantations. Oriental pied hornbills occasionally visited Singapore from neighbouring countries, but couldn't remain to breed as there was a shortage of big old trees with natural cavities, says Lim Liang Jim from the National Parks Board. The breeding effort of that returning pair were given a helping hand by members of the Singapore Hornbill Project, which launched in 2006. By then, the Ubin hornbill population had increased steadily on its own, reaching 15 individuals, and 7 artificial nest boxes placed across the island provided a further boost. All were occupied by at least one pair each, and more than 50 nestlings have been recorded in the years since. Nest boxes were also put up in other parts of Singapore, and in 2008, the project released a pair of captive-bred hornbills into Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, which shelters one of the country's last remnants of primary rainforest. A further 3 releases were spread across other areas, including Ubin, to diversify the gene pool. While this support has aided the species' recovery. It's no surprise that Singapore's continued greening efforts have also benefited the birds. The planting of native trees has enhanced the habitat for oriental pied hornbills and enabled the species to thrive, says Jim. In larger landscapes, the oriental pied hornbill is typically found in disturbed forests and forest edges, as well as along the coast, so parks and urban spaces are great habitat for them. Thanks to sustained efforts over the years, these birds are no longer a rare sight in Singapore. Oh. Do you want health insurance that will make you as happy as that guy? Ubin remains the species' stronghold with a population of approximately 50 birds, but its presence on the mainland has been growing. When I moved into a neighbourhood besides a park in the east coast in 2017, I regularly encountered flocks of more than a dozen hornbills, and these characterful creatures became part of my daily life. Cycling along the regular route between their daytime foraging haunts and roosting site, I'd often be accompanied by flocks gliding above me on outstretched wings. In the playground with our daughter, the birds would sometimes emerge from the surrounding canopy to join in the fun, chasing each other from the trees to the swings and seesaws where they'd perch and fence using their bills. They would even dust bathe and preen in the sandpit, surrounded by captivated children. You invariably hear hornbills before you see them. Their loud cackling calls carried for at least a mile. The male is the most vocal, but the uproarious duet when the pair comes together is rivaled by few other birds. Now, I can't. The sound won't play if I play that, unfortunately. Another evocative sound of the hornbill is the unmistakable beat of the wings as it flies overhead on the foraging rounds, gracefully swooping from tree to tree on the hunt for food. So there we go. I'm not going to read all of the article, but I think that gives you more than enough. But because the birds are so big and so gregarious, and they can make a lot of noise, you're not allowed to feed them. There's a fine of about $5,000 if you're caught feeding them. So, but that's what some buildings look like in Singapore. Do you reckon we could learn from that? So here we go. Just a quick look, and Tim Plowden wrote that article. A wildlife conservation filmmaker and photographer. He spent the last 10 years in Southeast Asia specialising in documenting the wildlife trade and urban wildlife. So, I'll just move that out now. There we go. So, what's happened on Instagram? Disconnected the stream. Okay. Okay. I think we'll just give Instagram a miss, I think, from now on. Just seems to be more trouble than it's worth. Anyone got any other comments? I'm going to look up. I'm just going to look up the Good News Network and I am going to look for that eDNA stuff. I'll just get rid of some of these. I'll come back to that later on. That's a joke, isn't it? there. What's this? Oh, well, apparently, I just don't know what's going on with Instagram. Um, I just don't get it. Apparently it was still live according to me. Good News Network. Let's and let's find the Peruvian diving petrel. Okay, it's on the. All right, so this is really interesting. Mongabay have an article in 2023 that says they're nesting. Let's just see what we can find. There's a whole heap of things I can get rid of here, aren't they? Good on you, Loz. Okay, I'll just share these so we can talk about it. Is that the one? Okay. So this is the article that Naomi was mentioning, I'm believing. February the 8th, 2024. Endangered seabirds flourishing on island for the first time in decades as invasive rabbits, are removed. For the first time in over 4 decades. Island Conservation are the group who have been working on this. For the first time in over 4 decades, Peruvian diving petrels have 4 active natural nests on Chanarel Island after a dedicated conservation group cleared the island of invasive species. Okay, so rabbits were removed in 2017, and last year the partners involved in re-establishing really this unique Chilean ecosystem has seen a resurgence in the seabird population. And the first seabird chick born on the island in over 40 years. Okay. The team discovered 4 active natural nests, including 2 with chicks, 1 with an adult, and a 4th with a fledgling. So they're endangered, classified as endangered 4 years ago. So, So apart from removing the rabbits, the island conservation scientists also implemented social attraction tools to encourage birds to return. This included solar-powered speakers that play petrel calls assigned to passing individuals of high-quality nesting habitat nearby. Today, thanks to all these efforts, the Peruvian diving petrel is now classified as just near threatened. So that's great. That is great. Now I'll just have a look at the Mongabay story. Okay, so this is the Mongabay story from March 2023. So it's about the same place, Chanarel Island off the coast of Chile. But used to be a prime nesting spot for the Peruvian diving petrel, but the species largely disappeared after the introduction of invasive rabbits and foxes. In 2013, researchers and wildlife managers eradicated these invasive species from Chanarelle, and in 2019, a team began to lure the diving petrels back by creating artificial nests and playing petrel calls. These efforts paid off. In November 22, a Peruvian diving petrel chick hatched in a naturally dug burrow, generating optimism for the species' future on the island. So the Peruvian diving petrel is a tiny thrush-sized seabird that spends more time in the water than in the air. The ocean-dwelling species is now at risk due to climate change and other human-driven pressures. On Chile's Chanarelle Island, which used to be a prime nesting site for the species, rabbits and foxes have largely driven out the species. People introduced rabbits to Chanarelle in the early 20th century to give stranded fishermen a food source, but the rabbits quickly took over the birds' burrows and decimated the island's vegetation. Then foxes were introduced to control the rabbits, but they seemed more interested in preying upon diving petrels. In 2013, researchers and wildlife managers at Island Conservation and the Chilean National Forestry Corporation began restoring the Humboldt Penguin National Reserve, a nature reserve that encompasses 3 Chilean islands, Chanarelle, Damas and Coros, by working to remove invasive species. In 2017, Chanarelle was declared rabbit and fox free. Then in 2019, a team from Island Conservation, CONAF, Catholic University of the North and Project Puffin began to lure Peruvian diving petrels back to Chanarelle Island with social attraction methods, a strategy commonly used by experts to entice threatened seabirds to restore or establish new nesting grounds. So there's a photo of some artificial burrows around a speaker and 2 of the researchers from the team. We used artificial PVC nests and 2 sets of solar-powered speakers that play petrel calls to attract nearby adults to nest on the island. Christian Rivera, a park ranger at Chanarelle Island, said in a statement, "This was one of the first projects of its kind on any Chilean island. Only a few days after the 2 sound systems were installed, petrels began arriving on the island to explore the surroundings. A year and a half after the project's start, the team started finding burrows dug by the diving petrels, and then in November 22, about 3 years after the project's start, they found a downy chick in one of the burrows, the first known chick to hatch on the island in 40 years. Maria Jose Vilches, someone who speaks Spanish can tell me how to pronounce that properly, an island restoration specialist at Island Conservation, said she and her colleagues didn't expect chicks to appear on the island for at least 5 years after the start of the social attraction project. It was a surprise indeed, she told Mongabay in an emailed statement. The chick appears to be in good health and should leave its nest later this month to make its trip into the ocean. Okay, I'm going to open that too. A study published in Scientific Reports found that efforts to restore islands by driving out invasive species have been highly successful at reinstating native wildlife in ecosystems. A recent opinion piece also recognised that invasive species removal is a key way to restore connectivity between islands and oceans, generating benefits for both terrestrial and marine ecosystems. We have seen incredible recovery of seabirds on other islands freed of invasive mammals, and signs are looking good that Chanarelle will be the same. Okay. That was great. Great stuff, Monga Bay. Let's get. Let's remove that. Stormy saw a square-tailed I can't talk today. Square-tailed kite this morning before the storm. Well, they are sometimes said to be harbingers of storms because, yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Jeez, I really didn't think we'd get going for more than an hour today, but it looks like we have. So, there we are. Let's see. There's a few things I would like to remind you of today. I haven't done this for a long time, but let's do this. You can support the show at Buy Me a Coffee. So it says buymeacoffee.com/birdemergency, but I made it even easier. You can go to thebirdemergency.com/coffee or /join. I think that's the one I would prefer. Let's have a look at the, have I still got my, somewhere in one of these endless amounts of things, have I got the join one up here somewhere? No, it's not in that one. Somewhere it's along here. Is it in my Monday things? The other thing I need to remind you to do. I'm still short of 500. There's 500 subscribers on YouTube, so please get into it and subscribe. Oh, here we are. This is the other one. There we are. Become a member. thebirdemergency.com/join. I have to tell you that I had forgotten that somebody had joined and paid for the annual subscription last year. So I haven't really been pushing it, have I? But Barb, thanks a bunch. I really appreciated it when it renewed. So that was fantastic. And we'll get these members only streams on the go. Oh yes, Stormy, thank you very much. Like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Actually, liking is one thing. I'll be honest about it in the whole creator economy. Liking is great, but you know what's better? Sharing it. Because it's really hard to get traction, and if someone you know who thinks that you have pretty good taste and that you might be looking at interesting things online, if you share something from the Bird Emergency, be it the podcast or be it the live stream or be it first seen and heard or whatever, do that. And I know it's probably 2 more movements of your thumb, maybe 3, or clicks of the mouse, but that's really, really good, really helpful. And I love it when people say, oh, my friend told me about you, and they don't say something awful. That's great. Okay. I think that's about it for the day. Loz is now sound asleep, so I'll leave Loz to do Loz things, and I might try and find something that is good news next week, or I might send some more emails to people and see if we can get some guests rocking. What day are we? Thanks, Stormy. Thanks for watching. What are we? The 19th today. So we've still got a bit to go in the month, haven't we? And then we'll start pushing towards Easter. My goodness. Well, thanks everyone who's been here. Thanks to the XC Twitterers, the YouTubers, the Facebookers, and hello Twitch. Nice to see you there too. Twitch, always happy if you see some good news like Naomi did that I had missed. It's really hard to get the good stuff into your feed because I'd rather send you political stuff or Taylor Swift stuff than the stuff you really want. It's how the algorithms work, I think. So if you do see some good news in conservation, especially birds, please let me know. You can email it to me. You can message it to me on any of the platforms. Actually, DMs on the platforms works well because then I know that you're active and that you're where you're seeing things. I'd like that. Yeah. So I'll do what we did yesterday. I'm getting starting to like this. Let's put a feeding the ducks on, and when feeding the ducks is finished, okay, when that's finished, I'm going to end the stream. Unless someone chimes in with another useful comment, a funny comment, some more news to talk about. I should just remind everyone, shouldn't I, to do the... So that's the target. That's the short-term target. Can you believe I haven't even got 500 subscribers on YouTube yet? Holy moly. Actually, that's it. Go and share stuff get people to come and subscribe on YouTube. So 500 is the short-term target, then 1,000. Leave a review of the podcast if you haven't already and you would like to say something nice on whichever podcast platform you are using. Apart from writing some emails today, I might do a bit of update on the website. Haven't touched it for ages, haven't updated it for ages. What do you think about that? There we are. Betty. Hello, Betty. 3 new birds in Goulburn. Very bright green wings too and bottom. Have not seen their heads as of yet. Fly very fast. Well, I would have to say, if they've got bright green wings, now, my first guess is going to be that they, being in Goulburn, would probably be that they're rainbow lorikeets, Betty. Are the wings green from the bottom? Hold on. I'll put some more. I'll put the song on again while I reach over and get the bird book. I'm pretty sure if you're seeing bright green birds that look like about the size of a parrot, I'm guessing they're probably going to be a parrot. And I'm looking at what might be around you. And if we look at the underwings, Betty, if you've got a bird book, being in Goulburn, if you've got a bird book, I would look at the superb parrot. And I can see there's another comment here. Let's have very bright green wings, top and bottom. The underside is bright green. Okay, well let's have a look at the other lorikeets. I was going to say have a look at the superb parrot. The musk lorikeet has basically green underwings with grey primaries. The little lorikeet, similar. They're going to be my suggestions. I'm going to say the musk lorikeet or the little lorikeet. Have a look at those in your bird book. And also have a look at the superb parrot. They would be my suggestions. Darker green would be the king parrot, but I'm not sure what the king parrot underwing looks like. Let's have a look. If it was a king parrot, I mean, you're going to notice the amount of red if it was a male, but the female has a lot less red. Have a look there. So, okay, so you know the king parrot. Oh, hello. So it is, you know the king parrot. So yeah, I think it's more likely to be a musk lorikeet or a little lorikeet. But it's possible that it could be a superb parrot. But you do consult the bird book, whichever bird book you have. But that one would be my my suggestion. You're back, Loz. You have a good nap? It's what Loz does. He eats like crazy, plays like crazy. He loves the chord here. We'll get back on the top of, here we go, he's going up to the top of my headphones again. He's also been picking the raised print here on the cap. Here we are. And he likes to check out what I'm doing under the lid. I think he's going to do that in a minute. So yeah, good luck, Betty. Here we are. Hello. Yeah, good luck with that, Betty. Yeah, just get your binoculars out and see what you can see. And if they're lorikeets, they're going to be heading to eucalyptus blossom in the canopies of trees. If they're around, if they're hanging out in your garden. If they're superb parrots, they're going to be feeding either on grasses on the ground or maybe getting into acacia seeds or something like that if you've got ripe acacias dropping seed. So that's what to look for and where to look for. Superb parrots nest in old tree hollows, old river red gums, things like that. So I imagine you would have those around. Actually, while you're here, Betty, I'm just going to could certainly be a red rump, Naomi, but I'm just not seeing the flash of green in the underwing. But let's have another look. Let's have another look at the red rump. I initially thought that maybe it could be a scaly breast, but they've got a red underwing. Let's have a look. Also, the discounted the ringnecks because they have sort of blue, really noticeable blue in the wings. A bit far south for a red-winged parrot. Yeah, so the red rump to me always looks grey brown, and there's a noticeable pale stripe in the underwing. So, but you could look at that. You could look at the red rump as well. Betty also looking at all the other Neophemas. All the other Neophemas sort of have a blue/grey underwing and like a noticeable stripe. I'm pretty sure you know what a budgie looks like too. I wouldn't expect you to see them in Goulburn, but they have green in the underwing, but I think they're so everyone knows what they look like, so yeah. You want to go back over there now, do you, Loz? You can. You're free to. Yeah. Yeah, Betty, you're just going to have to look out for some other diagnostics. Colour of the head, colour of the rump, if you can possibly see it. Belly, shape of the tail too for parrots is another good diagnostic. But that would be my first thought. Oh look, Loz is there. Oh, there we go. His green is, there we are. Green's invisible. How cool. There we go. What do you, I think he caught a view of himself in the, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. There we go. Or I think he's checking me out. Very funny. Very funny. All right. Good on you, Loz. There we are. Yeah. What do you want to do? Look, I'll see when our next bird watching deep dive is, and maybe this, Betty, maybe you could give us some more info, and we'll talk about the things you need to see in a medium or small parrot. Could it be a catbird? I would be catbird in Goulburn. We like to see catbird in Goulburn. Also, the flying overhead bit doesn't sound catbirdish to me, but where do I find catbird in this book? You want to read the book too now, do you, Loz? Okay. You come and give me a hand. Yeah, you come and give me a hand. I'm almost at the right bit. Okay, let's find that. Oh, you're interested in the pages, are you? Hey! He wants to eat the book. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see a catbird. You can have a look at the catbird in your book, but I wouldn't expect it's hanging out in Goulburn. I guess it's possible, but wouldn't be So check out Betty the green catbird. Oh, I'm frozen in there. Just hang out for a second. Oh yeah, something has happened. Let's get this happening again. What's going on here? What is going on? What's going on? Tether? I'm still here, folks. Something's going on with the something is going on with that. What is going on? Live view. Well, that could be possible. Bear with me, folks. There's something going crook with my camera, so let me put that reminder up, and I will quit that, and then I will restart that. Oh, there we are. I'm back there. And I'm back here. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's just something had gone crook with the tool I have to use to get my camera into OBS, and then OBS sends to StreamYard. It just keeps the good camera working. But yeah. Okay, that's interesting that the Betty hasn't seen the belly of the bird. Also, the other thing, I mean, Betty, if you've actually had a look at the bill, and if it looks like a parrot beak, well, I'm happy to go with you there. If you haven't had a good enough look at it, I'd be getting the binoculars out, or the camera if you got a big lens, and checking it out. What are you doing, Loz? What are you doing, buddy? There we are. Okay. All right. Well, we're just killing time. I'm going to put a different track on. Which one will we go? I can't remember if I like this one. Night Driving. I'll put that one on. Oh, this is a go to sleep kind of song, I think. All right, I'll take the loop off, and when it's done, I'm going to go unless we've got something else of note. I'm impressed that Stormy's seen the square-tailed kite. Can't really miss them. Oh, I'll tell you the other thing I've been doing, which has been keeping me entertained. I've been checking out the Australian Bird ID group on Facebook and checking out all of the posts. You can learn a lot. You can test yourself, and you can see some really interesting sightings that people are getting. There's been some rippers at the Werribee treatment plant. You want to come here? Or you just want to bite me? Hey, you want to come on? Yeah. There we are. So let me be really annoying again and go, hey, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you buy me a coffee. And of course you can do that at birdemergency.com/join as well. What do we got back here? Good to hear that no damage well, that you don't seem to have suffered any ill effect at your place there, Naomi. Australian Bird ID group is great. I've also been enjoying, each state seems to have their own bird seen in the state group. That's been fun, checking those out. And come on. And the other interesting things, I've been checking out what plant is that, or plant ID, or whatever it's called. That's been pretty cool. Just fun. It's amazing how many people leap in with a really surefire opinion about what something is, and then they're wrong. So that's just human nature, isn't it? All right, come on. Oh, here we go. There we are. Good on you. Yes, he really likes the microphone. All right, folks. I've got that off, haven't I? Yes, we're not looping. So I can put that down. Here's me again. And now we're going to basically say see ya. Might be back tomorrow if I find anything interesting to talk about. Oh no, Loz, what are you doing? Come on. There we are. No, come back up. That's where I want you. Come on. That's it. Come back up. There we are. All right. More comments. What do we got? Yeah, the Victorian Twitcher one is fantastic. Doesn't New South Wales have enough Twitchers, Naomi? You could always start one. Crazy. All right, folks. Actually, maybe I'll come back tomorrow. I'll spend some time today looking up some really cool bird Facebook groups and maybe share some and talk about some. That might be fun. That might be valuable. Always want to find something that's remotely valuable as well as being a little bit entertaining. So, yeah, that would be cool. I'll think about it this afternoon. I've got to go down to the supermarket, and after that, depending on how much time I have, I will get into it. What do you reckon, Loz? You agree with it? Not seeing much enthusiasm there. Oh, let me take this down. Then you might be able to see. Oh, where is Loz? Where are we, Loz? There we are. You excited by that idea? Hey, what do you think, mate? As you can see, the enthusiasm level on Loz for that idea is not super high. Oh, I've just lifted my microphone stand out of the ground. Okay, now another comment. Let's see. Okay, well, Naomi, instead of hitting you up for those ideas, what I would say is, if I have the stream tomorrow and we talk about that, you can contribute your ideas in the stream so that we might have a bit of people talking about it. I'd much rather that than to get an email with some ideas for something to talk about in a stream. But I do like emails that suggest who I should talk to. And thank you, Naomi. You've given some ideas. And good news that you think we might have missed, anything like that you see. So I really like emails like that. And also, I frequently now get emails from people. A trend started by Martin and Stormy. And hello, Martin, if you're out there today. And hello, Glenn, if you're out there too today. With some photos saying, what do you think this is? And it's always fun to try and work it out, especially if it's from a fairly dodgy photo. So, yeah, it's always fun. Okay, well, there we go. We got through 2 tracks and I'm still here. So let me just remind you. Uh, subscribe. Even if YouTube isn't your main platform, please head over to thebirdemergency.com/YouTube and subscribe. That I'd really like that. And of course you can buy me a coffee, but the best way to do that, best way to support, is to head over to thebirdemergency.com/join, and we get some. I mean, it's really nice to be able to get some regular money in to help pay the internet bill, basically. Oh, did anyone notice a discussion on X/Twitter today about someone who's doing the stop and go sign on a unionised project getting 120 grand a year if they're working a 35-hour week? Oh my God. That's like so much more than I can hope to get from doing podcasting. It's a joke. Anyway, everyone, Bird Emergency, check out the podcast, check out the back catalogue of live streams, and yeah, maybe talk to you tomorrow. See ya.